Welcome to today's class. I'm really excited for us to move forward from last week's class. Last week we talked about mission, goals, and norms, and the importance for teams to create a mission, goals, and norms, because those those goals, and those norms become your team culture, and you got to live and breathe your team culture. So today we're going to move forward, and we're going to talk about a tool that we use to ensure that our teammates live and breathe our culture. So today we talk about constructive feedback. So after our short intro, we're going to get into the what and the why of constructive feedback. We're going to talk about the when and the how of constructive feedback. How we give, let me go back. We're going to talk about the what is constructive feedback and why we give it. We're going to talk about when we give constructive feedback and who gives the constructive feedback. We're going to talk about how to give constructive feedback. So we're going to share a process for you to understand how to deliver it. And then we'll wrap up and touch on what's up next in the next class. So right now, I want you guys all to close your eyes and think really briefly about a time when you had to give someone some constructive feedback. Okay? Maybe it was at work. Maybe it was with working with a team or a group project at school. Just take a second to think about it. Okay. Would anyone like to share with the class? Hippo. Oh, so you gave you're telling us about a time when you gave some constructive feedback to someone in a group work project. And what was the feedback you gave them? Oh, you said to them that you would like to see them put a little more effort into the work that they were contributing. That's great. Thanks for sharing that. Raptor, you had something to share? So you had some constructive feedback for a teammate of yours once who was consistently coming late to practice. So what did you say to your teammate? Oh, you just pulled them aside and said, I think it's really important that you're at practice on time. Great. So those are two terrific examples of giving constructive feedback. So now, what I want you to do is I want you to think about, I want us to take this a step further. See, it's one thing to understand what constructive feedback is, but I haven't defined it yet. So let me define it first. Constructive feedback is information that we give to someone to modify their behavior. Okay, so someone that performs an action, okay, we reflect on the action, and then we give them information to modify their behavior. So that term is called feedback. The intention of constructive feedback, for the purposes of this class, should be to improve performance. So we're looking at it from a performance improvement standpoint or a team improvement standpoint. So a lot of times, something happens in the construct and the context of a team, and we get emotional about it, and we want to give feedback, but it's like reactive feedback, right? So I want to offer you a process to help you filter the constructive feedback you get. So if you look on your sheets, and I want you guys to look together in your pairs there, it's a filtering process. So this filtering process has 3 steps to it. Okay? First step is ask you the question, do I need to give this feedback? And really what we're asking here is, if you give this feedback, is it going to change anything? Is it going to change the outcomes for the team? Because if not, it might be better to just not give it. Okay? The second question is, do I need to be the person who gives that feedback? Right? Which makes you reflect on, okay, is it me who's supposed to give this feedback? Maybe if you're talking about a team context, maybe it's a coach. If you're talking about a class context, maybe it's a teacher. If you're talking about a work context, maybe it's a manager who should be giving the feedback. And then the final filtering question is, does the feedback need to be given right now? So it's about the timing of it. Okay, so now we get into the when of it in this situation, which helps us to be mindful of times when people are more receptive to feedback. If you give someone constructive feedback in a very heated discussion, depending on who they are, it might not land well. Or if you say it a certain way, it might not land well. Some people want the feedback nice and direct. Some people want the feedback nice and soft. So we want to be mindful of when. So that's kind of the filtering process. Do we give it at all? Who gives it? And then when do we give it? Okay. So now I want you to think about someone, maybe at work, maybe on your working with you at school, maybe on your team, who you know you want to give some constructive feedback to. And I want you to go through this filter process. So ask yourself these 3 questions. Okay? Ask yourself these 3 questions. And then once you've asked yourself these 3 questions, I want you to work with your partner and share what you've decided. Have you decided to give them the constructive feedback, or have you decided to not give them the constructive feedback based on that filtering process? Off you go. Great. Now, let's check in with you guys. Bear, Hippo, what did you guys decide? So Bear, you decided that you're going to give the constructive feedback. Sorry, you decided that the constructive feedback needs to be given, but not by you. Okay, that's great. That's great. Minnie, you decided not to give the constructive feedback. And why was that? Because you didn't believe it was going to make any difference at the end of the day. Great, super. You guys are getting the hang of it. And then Black Angry Bird, what did you decide? So Black Angry Bird, you decided that you would wait and give the constructive feedback to your teammate at the end of the game in the change room as opposed to during the game. You just thought it would land better then. Super. You guys are all-stars at this. This is terrific. I love that how you've used the filtering process, and it seems like you really understand it. So now, I'm going to ask you guys to stand up for a second, okay? And we're going to stand up, and I want us to just loosen up a little bit, right? You know, we just had a quick break. We're coming back from a break. Let's just loosen up a bit. And let's move around the room, okay? So we're going to move around the room. And I want you to move around the room like you are late to get somewhere, right? Like you're looking at your watch, and we're late. Oh my gosh, I'm late. You're like that rabbit, the hare in Alice in Wonderland, okay? Okay, the freeze. Now, I want us to switch. I want you to move around the room like you're being sneaky, like you don't want to be seen. So let's move around the room like we don't want to be seen. Oh, low profile, on the down low, as you guys say, or on the DL, whatever you guys say. Terrific. Now freeze. Okay. I want you to look to the person on your right. Whoever the person is on your right, that's who I want you to partner with for this next exercise. Right? So perfect. Yeah, so Hippo and you guys switch, that's terrific. And you guys switch, that's terrific. Great. Okay. So now, I'm going to give you another handout. And this handout is a process that is going to help us to actually deliver the constructive feedback. So you guys have already acknowledged that I want to give this feedback to a teammate. Okay? You filtered it so that it's not all emotional, like I gotta give them this feedback, I gotta give it now, but now you filtered it to decide whether it needs to be given, who it needs to be given by, and when it needs to be delivered. Now, we're gonna present this process, and it's called the nutshell process. Okay, so the nutshell process walks you through sort of how to deliver the constructive feedback. Because if it's not delivered artfully, it might not land. And when I say land, I mean the person might not receive the constructive feedback. They might not take it in if it's not delivered the right way. So we want to make sure that we're delivering the constructive feedback the right way so that it lands and that person modifies their behavior and they improve, and as such our team improves. Okay? So the first part of the, and I want you guys can read along with me. The first part of the nutshell process is an invitation. Okay, so we offer them an invitation. We say, can I speak with you about something real quick? Or I'd like to discuss something that happened yesterday. Nice and simple, and hopefully they'll be open to that. Okay. We move from invitation to orientation, and when we get into the orientation section of it, we now talk about our intention. So what is that we want what do we want to create from this interaction? So maybe it's I just want to feel better about something that happened yesterday. I feel lousy about it. Or maybe I want to help our team. I want to help our team perform better next time we do this same activity, or next time we have our next game, right? So, or maybe it's I want you to be personally better. I want you to improve. Okay, so we start with the invitation. Hey, can I talk to you about something for a second? Second is our intention. Look, I really want our team to improve, okay, and be the best team we can be. Then we move to the third piece, which is a description. So now we're describing the behavior that is leading us to give the constructive feedback. So if it's a basketball situation, Raptor, maybe it's, I saw that you didn't box out on that last rebound. And that's an observation. What you saw is what you saw. There's no judgment involved in that. It is what it is. Or if you were working with someone in a group project, it could be an observation like, you failed to attend our last 2 group meetings. Okay? An observation is just what you saw or what you heard, just what happened. And then finally, the fourth piece of it is the inquiry. So, and this is where some coaching comes in. You ask a coaching question about, how can we be better about this next time? Okay, so when you're asking that question, you're really helping your teammate or your classmate to start to be self-directed about ways that they can solve this issue, as opposed to you giving them one. Having said that, even with that question, I want you to have something in your back pocket just in case they can't think of something. Okay? So, nutshell process: invitation, orientation, description, and inquiry. So now what I want you guys to do is, actually, I made a mistake. I want you guys to work in groups of 3. So you guys should have, after our little activity, you should have assembled in groups of 3. Looks good now. I want you to work in groups of 3. And now you're going to think about that person that you want to give constructive feedback to. You're going to structure your constructive feedback through the nutshell process. Okay? And then once you've done that, I want you to work in these triads. So it's groups of 3. One of you will be the receiver of feedback. So this person is going to be the person getting the feedback. One of you is going to be the deliverer of feedback, the person delivering the feedback. And the third person is going to be the observer. Okay? So you'll each take turns, and what will happen is after, for instance, in this piece, after Bear delivers the feedback to Raptor, Angry Bird Blue will give Bear feedback on how Bear delivered their feedback to Raptor. Okay? Any questions on that? What's your question, Hippo? Yes. Great question. Thank you for asking. Yes, you all are going to take a turn. So I should all cycle through each one of the roles. Okay? So I'm gonna let you guys get after it a bit, and then I'm gonna just come around the room and make sure and just see how you're doing. That's great, Hippo. I love how you phrased your description so well as an observation. And you said, you know what, you've come late to class every time. That's a great observation. It's just what you saw. Good job. Angry Bird Blue. I love how you introduced your invitation to the giving constructive feedback. Hey, what's your name again? Sorry. Hey, Bear. Let's chat for a minute, or I have something to chat to you about. That's great. Good job. Okay, great. It looks like you guys have gone through. You've all delivered. You've all given yourselves, each of your teammates, your observations. So now, as we sort of wrap things up, I want to review what we've covered today. Okay, so really briefly, we started off going back to the previous class where we talked about mission, goals, and norms, and I presented to you how giving constructive feedback helps us to hold our teammates accountable to mission, goals, and norms. Okay, we define giving constructive feedback. We talked about what it is and why it's important. We talked about when we give constructive feedback, who gives it, and whether it's given at all. And then through the nutshell process and through this feedback wheel you guys are doing right now, or you just finished, we talked about how to deliver it. Okay? So a quick question for you guys. What was most useful for you today in today's class? Raptor, it was the filtering process. Great, because you don't want to react through emotion. You want to respond and only give constructive feedback when it's necessary. Great. And Minnie, what was most useful for you? You said the delivery part, because that's a tough piece for you. Great. So listen, next class, we're going to spend time on receiving constructive feedback. Look forward to seeing you guys next week.